Corey Swargas here for Slap News. We are going to be interviewing middleweight champion John Davis here today. We're going to catch up with him. We're going to go over everything that he learned from Power Slap #1, what it's like being the champion. Has it changed his life? Was he able to buy some nice things for himself, his family? What he did with that money? Maybe he saved it. We don't know. We'll find out what John says, what he's doing to train right now to take on the next opponent next time he's up. Power Slap #2, we'll find out if he will be there. We're not sure if all the title matches will be at every single event yet, but we'll see if John can give us any insight of whether we can expect him at the end of May. Going to bring John in here. If you like the content that you hear on this channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit the notification bell, and if you want to see any future interviews with any of the slap fighters, you want to see any specific content on our channel, let us know in the comment section below, because we are always here for you guys, the fans of slap fighting. We're going to bring John Davis in. We're going to catch up with him. We haven't heard from him since Power Slap #1, so we're going to see where he's at and what's going on. John, how you doing, my man?
Doing great, man. I hope you're doing well yourself. Thank you for having me on again. It's good to see you.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. We were able to sit down in your hotel room at Power Slap #1, which I think was an incredible interview, and really being able to get to know you, get to know your psyche, where you were before that match. For everyone who's watching this knows that you came out victorious. As I said in the intro, you are the champion from Power Slap #1, the first middleweight champion. What does it mean to you looking back now 4 weeks after Power Slap #1 and you being the first championship holder in your division?
It definitely took a while to set in, sat around with, I'd say, Imposter Syndrome for a while after I first got home, because it definitely didn't feel real. The whole experience itself is still setting in of Power Slap itself, let alone, everything that we just did. So, winning the belt is just, the more I get to sit and look at it, it probably about 3 weeks in, driving down the road by myself, I just was kind of sitting there like, you did it. It was like a weight was lifted, and at the same time another weight was added that was a little bit heavier. So, but I'm here to carry that on my shoulders as far as I can. So it was definitely a surreal feeling, and I'm super pumped about it. And it's definitely been, a roller coaster of emotions up and down for sure the entire time.
Yeah, I'm super curious what you said about imposter syndrome. I'm always curious as to why that would be. I mean, you did it, but what inside of you didn't feel like? Would you feel like you're not deserving of it? Were you just never thought it was something that would ever happen? I mean, you clearly did it. You had the run. You were given the belt on stage. So where was that uncertainty coming from?
I think no matter what, I'm always going to carry that to help myself keep an edge. And unfortunately, it's just a mental, it's an issue that I have that I can turn into a strength at the moment to get me through the longevity of all this stuff. I could be cream of the crop no matter what sport, activity, whatever it is you want to call it that we're getting into, and I'm still always going to feel like I'm missing something. I'm not doing something enough. I was lacking in paying attention in a certain area of something. I'm always looking to improve to the best of my ability, but as the imposter syndrome is just, again, not feeling real. And you get to the top, and obviously it's a very quick ride to the top at this point, I can say for myself. So within a year's time, going from a heavyweight, pretty much trying to see if they're even going to do anything with it or not, to a belt in your hand is a very fast slingshot. So, totally. Grasping onto that definitely is a new thing for me, but definitely have a good support system around me, between obviously my family here at home and my family at the gym that I train at, because a lot of them have just been like, well, wipe that from your mind, because you did it. You did it. You've worked very hard for it. And, them helping me out has definitely helped push that aside and, focus on what I need to at this point for hopefully Power Slap 2. I can definitely say I'm leaning towards being there to the best of my abilities, and definitely can't wait for the event to get announced for what all's going down, because I'm sure it's going to be another banger of an event.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Before we get to Power Slap #2, I just want to bring it back to Power Slap #1. In the post-fight interview that you did, I know you were quite emotional. You addressed your kids and you told them, go get McDonald's, do whatever you want tonight. You got the biggest one-day paycheck probably in your entire life, that day. Were you able to spend any of that money to enrich, the lives of yourself and or your family?
Oh, absolutely. We just got the patio redone out here because the one that was at the house when we bought it was old and definitely worn out. So I was able to get a new one put out there so that way we can have, uh, you know, cookouts and everything with the baby on the way. Also, they're not tripping in the holes and the kids aren't falling and getting hurt. So it's definitely, that's just one aspect that I just literally got done the other day. Whatever stuff we've needed to prepare for the new baby coming on the way. It's definitely been, it's weird to look and not have to stress so much about stuff for sure. My kids have gotten stuff that they needed, whether it was just clothes or, we spoiled them, of course, which is in hand may bite me in the butt in the long run, but I'll do anything. I'd do anything for them just to see them smile during the day. So for the most part, anything we could get, a new cart to push them in that's real, heavy duty, special, a bunch of different stuff. A nice new chair for in the house. It's got double cup holders, bro. Insane.
Amazing. Nice. Did you splurge on anything for yourself, whether it be a ring, a watch, like anything like that?
More so, honestly, I've needed new clothes. Like I said, in the year's time from heavyweight down to middleweight, a lot of the clothes I had are either fallen off me or I've had to throw away, and even stuff that isn't as old, I've had to go through and just kind of rebuild my wardrobe for the most part. But odds and ends here and there, little stuff. There's not much that I really need. I need to spend more time and effort into spoiling my wife compared to myself. So that's definitely where I need to head in that direction before anything else for myself.
You're a smart man, John. Smart man. um, we talked about the ascension, getting up to the mountaintop. There's a certain, psyche in regards to that, to looking to, obtain and achieve that championship belt. Now you're in a unique position where that changes a bit because you are there. And it's a totally different mindset mentality to be able to stay there, to want to stay there when you have everybody else coming for you. What are you doing right now, both mentally and physically, to be able to stay at the top of the middleweight division and sustain yourself as the champion for, events, months, years to come?
Consistency is the best thing I can really say at this point. Even if I don't get up super early every day, which, normally if I get up and go to the gym, I'm up by 3 and in and around the gym by 4, out at 4:45 in the morning before I go to work. So whatever days I can fit that in, usually the closer it gets to before the actual event, I will be there every day for probably at least the last 3 weeks to a month. Every day I will be in the gym in the morning. And that's not, I have workout. I either run at night, the sauna here at the house. I mean, I have a whole gym. Like this is where I've trained beforehand. This is where I will train every day if I need to. If I can't get to my gym, I have my gym here. I have everything I need to constantly. I have no excuses to be lazy. So if I don't do at least one workout a day, I will be so upset with myself that I might not sleep that night. So I need to do something,
Yeah.
I have a self-drive I don't think most people are going to have, and that's what got me here. Talking to Power Slap started in this spot, training back here by myself with nothing. And I'm still sitting here today, and I'll probably be here in 20 years telling the same story for everybody that wanted to be like, why would you guys do this? Well, because guess what? It's going to probably be filled with a lot better stuff, and there might be a few more belts hanging on this wall by the end of it. So that's all I can say about that.
Yeah. Amazing, man. Amazing. Looking at the growth of Power Slap and, back from, March of 2022, coming into, the Road to the Title series, which I'm sure blew you away with the total production quality value that they put together. And then seeing Power Slap #1, bringing it full circle for an entire year where I'm sure there was a ton of uncertainty because I know they didn't, really say a whole lot, and they may not even have known where they were going to grow the sport, how they were going to grow it, and the timeline that it was at. Looking back, like I said, once again at Power Slap #1, seeing how that was produced and, the reaction of the fans and the media post Power Slap #1, how has it been for you? And has it been just larger than life?
Oh, absolutely. It was, again, it's hard to even, like, I have to go back and watch a lot of that to not so much remember it, but to see the finite details. Cause and like I tell people most of the time, by the time those doors open and I walk up there, it's tunnel vision and it's a whole nother thing going on at that point. For anyone who's planned to be in some sort of physical altercation with another person, usually you have to have your mindset pretty straight or you're going to go in there and have an issue. So,
yeah.
But as for, the production, absolutely amazing. The clips, the commentating I thought was amazing, especially, Bisbing, Dan, and then Charlie talking her interview afterwards. Everything they did was great. The stage itself, especially, I've competed in one other local promotion for a jiu-jitsu thing once. So other than that, I know nothing about how promotions go, how the media aspect, all of the stuff, other than what they've done for us in Power Slap. So I'm sure I'm just spoiled rotten when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, the simple fact of just being in awe the entire time from start to finish, because you're in the apex still. Like every time I walk in that building, it gives me chills, just the fact that I get to be in there and like, I'm not having to go out of my way to pay for tickets and get myself out there to go do something. They're sending me out there to come in and be there for days on end. And especially the show itself, being able to train in there was an unforgettable thing with, opportunities I'm sure none of us even knew we were going to get with the people we were able to meet. So it's just, again, the all around amazing. And then on top of the production for, the show, and then Power Slap 1 was definitely fine tuned. And like Dana said in his interview, every little detail that he doesn't like, he's going to tweak. And they've already been doing it for, 30 some years with the UFC to this point. So they've got a quick flip on switches and dials or whatever dots and T's they have to cross to make it exactly the way they want. So, it was, again, I can't even begin to use words other than me rambling on and on about it to try and find them. So I'll quit at this point.
Oh, good, man. All good. Before Power Slap number 1 took place, there was the rehearsal day on the Thursday. All week you got to see, the next crop of slap fighters coming in to Power Slap. Now seeing, I think we've seen 3 or 4 matches now be released on Rumble. What do you think of the young and up and coming crew that you were able to hang out with in Vegas and now finally actually seeing their fights?
It was definitely cool to meet every one of them that I was able to. I tried to talk to everybody and be as cordial as possible. Of course, I can't help myself sometimes. I'm like, "Are you the new guy? What do you do?" Can't help but get a couple of jokes in here and there. Yeah. But as for what I've seen so far, I just want people to be clean. I want the matches to be clean at this point, because that's what's going to be able to get you to get the power, to be able to get the knockouts, to be able to stumble your opponent. Because when you do it cleanly and you're landing it accurately, you're going to hit the button, you're going to be able to find it, and you're not going to have as much issue, worrying about clubs, worrying about people having feet issues. Everyone needs to focus on that. And from what I've seen so far, there's been, nothing worse than what us OGs from the beginning of this have had to deal with already. So, it's just one step at a time for everybody and getting the little details down. But it was exciting and nice to see a new crop of people coming in for sure.
Absolutely. So in a sport that you can't spar and, real competition, let's say you even compete 4 times a year in a 3-round match, you might be able to throw 12 strikes if you're lucky. How do you progress to ensure that these matches are clean?
The same as people who have a great jab. How many jabs do they throw in sparring? Just on a bag a day, even if it's just 100. If you can have whatever, setup you have to practice your accuracy, to land 100 accurate strikes in a row in the same general area of whatever it is you're doing, that's really the best thing that you can do. As the main thing about this is most people being able to take the hit, because if you're not going to be able to take it, again, there's a button for everybody. We all have one. I've just been lucky enough to not have someone completely hit it yet. It's been hit or miss for me myself so far. Some, and some people who have taken a bunch of hits beforehand, are, might have an issue. And then also some people you just don't have it. You find out a lot of guys in the gym for, MMA or boxing, they end up getting KO'd on accident in sparring, and they're never able to really, go to have a career. So, being built differently for everyone in that aspect plays a big difference. But again, repetition. I don't care if you're videoing your feet and watching you throw 100 strikes to see if 98 of them you didn't move your feet. The 2 that you did, you need to work on. That's how I feel about it. But again, repetition to make the safety, to also it's all correlation. You have to correlate the power that we have and the speed, because that makes a difference if you look at everybody's stats.
Absolutely. I just put up on the screen the actual, contender rankings. We've got yourself at the top as the champion, obviously. Want to kind of get your breakdown, because I know you've competed against a number of these guys.
Yeah.
Probably one of the thinner divisions, I would say, at this particular point, just my personal opinion. There's definitely some mixed records, throughout, 1 through 8 here, and we've got a couple of the new guys. So want to kind of get your perspective. Wesley Drain coming off Power Slap number 1 with a win, obviously catapulted himself to the number 1 position. Did you see anything looking back at his particular matchup? I mean, we don't know who, and I'm not going to put you on the spot as to if or who or when, whatever fighter is going to challenge you for the belt next.
Yeah.
But what did you see in Wesley's, game at Power Slap number 1 that you think is either a pro, a con, or anything that you think you can exploit within his game if he is, the next in line?
I'll say this. I know him and I have been prepared to go against each other for the belt since the show. And unfortunately, things for him went the opposite direction with injuries and whatever else battling that he had to go through. But he stayed in the top 3 the whole time, if I'm not mistaken, right? He's only gone down to 3. So it's not a surprise if it would be him. I wouldn't necessarily say against Azael for a second match yet, but also who knows, it's whatever they want to do. But for Wesley's match, when I went back and watched it, I mean, they were all clean. He definitely, there was some blood that came out of Emmanuel's mouth, which was a good shot, but also I think the mouth guards play a big part in that too. So, it was good for show. Definitely. I think they put on a great show. A split decision win. I can't remember. Do you know if Emmanuel won a split decision last time, or if Emmanuel had won by unanimous?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Because I don't know, and that's one of those things, like the technicalities that it's going to break down for everybody. Because like you said, it's mixed records. Like I even have a loss. It's just not in the middleweight division. So I don't think anyone other than maybe the new guys might be carrying an O at this point. Yeah, so I think.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Thomas, I think, is probably the only one in the entire Power Slap.
Yeah, that I can think of that they have on the roster right now. So
yeah. Obviously your match with Azael was a great one. In your personal opinion, do you think he's well ranked at number 2?
I don't see why not, only for the simple fact that the story would very well be different had we gone more rounds, I don't necessarily think if they would have let him go again, because if you watch afterwards, like once they call it, he stumbles backwards once more to the referee. I wouldn't want him to go up there, because my thing is, when people are saying, oh, it's getting called too soon, if you're hurt and you go up there to swing, there's a good chance you might completely miss and either A, unintentionally hurt your opponent in a way you're not supposed to, and B, if you completely whiff, like what if obviously Wesley said he had knee problems. I know a lot of people might have an issue if you throw too hard, completely miss because you were dazed, and then hurt yourself. That would be terrible, because not only then do you have your head knocked and you fought through it and kept going, now you've got whatever injury you just caused yourself because there wasn't a call made,
Totally. I mean, obviously, with it still being young, the rules are going to evolve and change, and I think the fighters are still, unclear, as to why things are stopped where they are. Vern Cathy, feels like he didn't get a full, standing 10 count. And I think a lot of these will be clarified over time. I think the athletic commission, the organization, even at Power Slap, are still trying to figure this out. And you have to give them credit because the quality and the product that they've been able to put out. Granted that there has been some inconsistencies, and I mean this is me saying it from ref to ref in regards to the standard that's being laid out and how they are calling it, and then to the specific degree of when they stop a match or not. But I think all that will smooth itself out, and we'll see some of that evolve for sure. So as we talked about earlier, Wesley Drayton was up against Emmanuel at number 3. Travis Aragon coming off with a victory against Carice Archer, who has since been released from Power Slap. However, I do know that Travis was sustained an orbital bone injury and will probably be sidelined for a little bit up until this particular point. But a good friend of yours or fellow podcaster on the Barefisted podcast, Jesse Nutting, sitting there at number 5, didn't get a match at Power Slap number 1. Obviously, he was an alternative. He was there, if somebody dropped out. And I spoke to Frank Lemicelli, and he really wanted to get Jesse up there on stage because of his showmanship and his chin. But unfortunately, that didn't unfold because everybody made weight. In regards to Jesse Nutting, where do you see him kind of going here in the sport? He's kind of in that middle, number 5, has a couple losses under his belt. I can confirm he'll be at Power Slap number 2. I won't say who he's up against because it hasn't been publicly announced. But how important do you think it is for Jesse to come out with a really good performance in his next match?
Jesse's always a dark horse. He's been a dark horse throughout this entire thing from the beginning, I think. So he could easily be back up for a shot at any point in time. He definitely he's a showman, like you said. They want him up there to put on a show and have fun. So he could easily be up there against me anytime soon with a win. I think a win might be able to help him get back up there. Against who? I definitely say someone above him in the top 5 would have to make that happen for him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think I almost like, you kind of look at number 5. He's kind of the gatekeeper there. I mean, we've got the newcomers afterwards, kind of the newcomers there. Joseph Ladman, who we just seen, obviously, in with from the rehearsal, which is posted up on Rumble. If you guys haven't seen it, you can go over to Rumble and check that out.
Yes, check out Rumble.
Absolutely. And then we've got Amir Neuradine, who we haven't seen throw an offensive strike yet. I mean, there's been a lot of chatter. I mean, Amir's got a good mouth on him and loves to let it sing. Loves to let it sing. Quite vocal about his distaste towards Chris Thomas as well.
Yeah.
But he played himself back into a contract because he left after that fight with Vern with no contract. He explored the opportunity of going into Slap Fight Championship, and I know it was very close to making that a reality, but it didn't happen. And Power Slap called him back and wanted to get him in the rankings, dropping him down in weight. I kind of joked with him when in the match with Vern that he had to have rocks in his shoes to be able to make the weight. So coming down to more of a natural weight class, I mean, he's kind of an unknown sitting there at number 7 because we haven't seen, the offense and the offense ability of Amir, and we've seen the defensive ability or inability of him against Vern. But I think that slap was a legendary slap that Vern delivered. That was 4 weeks of pent up anger and frustration all unleashed in one slap. So definitely a question mark, but looking, getting to see him in the house, were you able to see him train at all or give us any additional insight into what he's going to bring here to the middleweight division?
Again, much like Mr. Nutting, he's going to be there as a showman. He definitely is looking to get out there and make a name for himself and make some noise out there in the social media world and everything, which for us is great. Unfortunately, it's hard for me to do that all the time because I'm kind of busy. So when they do it for me, especially when, I'm not saying any names or pointing any fingers, but when folks want to send you direct messages about holding the belt for them, that's fine. That's all fine and dandy. Because believe me, let me tell every single one of you, whether you're in Power Slap or not, when you tell me that I'm a belt warmer for you, bro, no, I'm not warming a belt for anybody. I'm not just hanging on to it to keep it in my lap for someone to hand it over to them. You guys every single one of you are going to have to go to a place, not only in your mind, but in your physical, to try and take this belt from me. So at any point in time when you think this is going to be an easy task and you're going to walk over me, remember again that I am going to be outworking you every single time of the day, whether I'm just thinking about it, whether I'm physically doing something, training, if I'm at work, if I feel bad for my family because it is not out of my head constantly what I have to do. So people need to take that into account when they think that they're having fun playing games, because this is fun in games. But when it comes down to meet at that table, once again, there's a different animal you're going to meet there. And that's a fair warning to everyone.
That a boy. Perfect segue for me to get into Power Slap number 2. I know you've been training your ass off. What are you doing right now every single day? And what are you going to bring to that table come the next matchup?
Trying to push myself mentally for the most part. Maintaining weight is pretty easy at this point. I have to make sure that I'm eating properly for the most part, because if not, I will be a heavyweight real quick on accident. But luckily, I'm pushing hard
challenges.
enough. Oh my God, those burger challenges. Shout out to Doug's Classic. That's probably why my arteries were, screaming memes when I was a heavyweight. So, but I just pushed my kids in a cart 4 miles the other day to Home Depot and back on a run. I did that run myself less than 45 minutes, I think, the other day, and it's like 4.15 miles. I'm not breaking records out here, but I'm pushing myself to my absolute max and only trying to get better at that point. Sauna work to again push the mental, see how much time I can spend in there. Spar nights at the gym at Next Level Alliance where I train. Shout out to Rel Hodge. He just won the LFA title in MMA. He's my coach there, along with Edward Bean and all the Bean family. Whatever training I can get in there when I'm not doing my regular workouts and stuff that I've either learned or kind of tweaked over time for my power slap. So, anything and everything I can to do to mentally and physically prepare for this, I'm trying to do on top of, my normal job, while, sometimes I'm doing workouts in the middle of at my breaks to just kind of give myself some technique time, and, slapping 3-inch thick steel all day long to make sure my hands are solid as a rock. So folks need to also consider that, because that's, it's an odd thing to when the guys I work with walk by and they just kind of give me one of these numbers, like, "What are you doing, bud?" And I'm like, "Hardening my hand." Boom.
Well, I need you to take that to the next level. So Chris Thomas was trying to take out a wall with his head. I'm sure you see that on social. I think we need to see you hitting your head on steel to prove that you're stronger than Chris Thomas.
Here's the thing. I used to, what people may not know is when I was in junior high, the more wealthier, we'll say preppier kids, not to call them out on it, but would pay me to smash cans of soda or apples with my head. I used to headbutt brick walls and lockers and football. So I did all that years ago, and I think that may be paying off now. So I'm not going to headbutt anything solid, because last thing I need is the commission knocking on my door asking questions. But I will say I've beat my noggin off of anything from steel, concrete, you name it. My head's probably been whacked directly with it. So, animals on the farm, that was always a good time, because they are trying to knock you out if they can. They didn't care.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Next time we see you up on that stage, you've got the wealth of experience. You've gone through, the live pay-per-view event, getting ready, the moments before the actual matchup itself. Have you thought about what that's going to feel like now that you are the title holder? You're going to come in as the betting favorite on the line, and what it's going to mean to you in that moment, and what are you going to do mentally to be able to perform at your absolute best?
I think mentally, I'm able to be ready by the time, I can play it cool and deal with whatever tensions, because obviously everyone's got tensions all week long beforehand. You've been training, whether you have to, whether I have to watch what I'm eating or not, that's on the back of everybody's mind. You never know if the scale is going to be different. You never know when when you're going to get a phone call to do some sort of, cool media or meet someone or what's going on next. So there's all the stress things that kind of help keep you distracted while you're down there, in an odd aspect. But for the mental preparation, I've been prepared for doing this stuff since the very beginning, from the first time that I did it, because I feel like if you are not mentally prepared to go out there and do what it is that we're doing, then you don't belong out there. If you question yourself for 1 second about going out there, whether you, like, if you think you're going to get knocked out and you know that you're very likely going to get knocked out, but you're willing to go out there and try and fight through it anyhow, I give you more credit than someone who goes in there with no thought of any repercussion ever happening to them, because that's the time you're going to get knocked out, because you're not worried about it and you're not thinking about it.
Totally. All right, John, one last question for you. You're up there, your next match, you take home the victory and you retain the belt for a second time. What is that going to mean to you? And is it going to help cement your legacy here within Power Slap, which is a very young sport at this particular time?
Yes, I feel that will be the first brick on the foundation I've laid. Because at this point, getting to the title with everything involved in the year's time of not knowing what was going on to everything happening at once, that was the foundation it took to get us to where at least where I'm at and where Power Slap is at and looking to go from here on out. So, definitely retaining the title is going to be, again, in a multitude of ways, opportunities I can't even begin to think of or express how great they're going to be for me and my family in the future.
Awesome, my man. Pleasure as always catching up with you. We will be down there live in Vegas as well for the next event. Can't wait to see you out there and continue to build this relationship. We appreciate everything that you do, all the comments, all the support that you have here for us at Slap News.
Thank you. And I feel the same way. You guys are doing for us what a lot of people don't want to do, and they seem to be lacking in their departments. So any time I can chat with you guys or post y'all out there, I try to.
Awesome, man. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.